Yes, good afternoon students, and today we are going to start up with the class of 11th biology. And as I told you all that the very first unit, it deals about taxonomy and classification and as well as nomenclature of various living organisms. So today, starting up with the very first unit and with the very first chapter, that is chapter number 1, and the title of the chapter is The Living World. So when we are talking about the living world, clear? Living, first I should come back to biology. The word biology. As we are studying subject biology, so we should broadly know what is meant by biology. So bio means life or living beings, and the word logy, it comes from logos, that means to study. Therefore, when we are dealing up with biology, biology is the study of living organisms. It is the branch of science that deals with the study of living organisms. Okay, so before proceeding up with the chapter, I would like to tell you all that as you all know, due to COVID-19, certain of this part of the syllabus, it has been deducted from the syllabi. Therefore, in this chapter, three topics, they have been deleted. One is taxonomy, another one is systematics, and the another one is taxonomical aids. Since these chapters, they have been removed from the syllabus of biology of class 11, therefore we are not going to deal up with these topics in detail. But since taxonomy is the basis of biology as well as the basis of this chapter as well as the basis of this unit, therefore I am just going to give you all the highlights of what taxonomy is. Clear? Just we are not going to deal up with the systematics as well as the taxonomical aids, but we are just going to deal superficially what taxonomy is. Clear? So these are the three topics that have been removed or that have been deleted from the syllabi of class 11th. Clear? So now further dealing up with biology and moving up with the chapter, that is chapter number 1. As I said, your biology is the study of living organisms, and the chapter that we are dealing up over here is also the living world. So when we are talking about the living world, how do we define life and what is the difference between living and non-living? So first, dealing up with that differences between the living and non-living. So when I am going to define life or the living organisms, life means or living organism means that these are those organisms which do take birth and die off after a certain period of the time according to their species. Clear? And that period of the time, that duration of the time, that is from the time of the taking their birth up till their death, is known as lifespan. These are those living organisms which take birth and die after some time. Clear? That is, they have got a definite life span. Clear? So when we are dealing up with this that they have got a definite lifespan. We are just going to talk about certain examples of lifespans of different living organisms. When we are talking about the lifespan of human beings, the lifespan of the human beings ranges from 60 to 70 years. On an average, we count it to be 60 to 70 years, and ideally it has been calculated to be about 100 years. But ideally, not much of the population lives up to 100 years. The average lifespan of human beings ranges from 60 to 70 years. Then other is various microorganisms. Their lifespan ranges from a very few minutes up to few hours. Ranges from few minutes up to few hours. Okay. Then when we are talking about elephant, the lifespan of an elephant, it is counted to be around about 100 years. Accordingly, when we are talking about the parrot, the lifespan of the parrot is around about 150 years, and when we are talking about the lifespan of the tortoise, it is around about 200 years. Clear? And accordingly, every living organism is having its own lifespan, that is, it is having a duration for which it is going to live on this planet Earth. Clear? So when we are proceeding up to the differences between the living and the non-living world, these differences you all have studied from the very basic time. That is, also in your lower classes you have studied about these differences, and these differences, they are living and non-living. So when we are talking about the living and the non-living, when we are talking about living, the very first thing is they take birth and they die off. They take birth and die off. Non-living things, when we are talking about the non-living things, they do not take birth, neither do they die off. They do not take birth, neither do they die off. Clear? The second point is that living things show growth and development. Living things show growth and development. But non-living things, neither do they grow nor do they develop. Neither grow nor do they develop. Clear? Then the third point is that when we are talking about the third point, that living things, they are able to reproduce. Living beings are able to reproduce. But when we are talking about the non-living things, they are not able to reproduce. Clear? Then the fourth point. The fourth point is living things, they perform all the metabolic processes. And when we are talking about the non-living things, they are not able to perform metabolic processes. Now, other differences are also there, that when we are talking about the living and the non-living, a very small and a basic point, that living things, they are able to move, and when we are talking about the non-living things, they are not able to move. When we are talking about able to move and not able to move, we are talking about the movement from one place to another place. Clear? Then sixth point is that living organisms, they are able to respond towards the outer external stimuli. Able to respond. When I am talking about respond doesn't only mean towards the external stimuli. External stimuli means the variations that is occurring in the local environmental conditions, like change in temperature, change in pressure, humidity, rainfall, weather, soil, etc., etc. Clear? So all and all are these what? Adaptations for any living organisms. But here it is not only dealing up with the change in the with adaptations with the external environmental conditions, but it is also talking about the interaction with the other living organisms. Thus we can say that living organisms, they do have consciousness. They have consciousness. Clear? And when we are talking about the non-living world, they are not able to respond. How much efforts you are taking in for these living organisms, but they are not able to respond, and thus they do not have consciousness. They are not able to respond, and thus they do not possess consciousness. Clear? So these are the points of differences, main point of the differences which are present between the living as well as the non-living world. Clear? Now we are just going to study further on whether these differences or whether these points which we have counted them as the characteristic of all the living organisms, are they the defining characteristic features of all the living organisms? Can we define the living organisms as living based upon these characters or not? Though we have described a number of the differences between the living and the non-living world over here, but now in my further video I am just going to talk about what is life. Can we define life based upon these points, through which we can say that these are the basic characteristics of any living organisms, and we can define life on the basis of these living organisms. Clear? So in my next video we are just going to start up that what are the characteristics of the living organisms, or how can we define, or what are the defining features of various living organisms. Clear? That is my personal request to you all students, that kindly pay attention to the videos as well as all the live stream classes, plus the PDFs that are being sent to you all on the scheduled time. So kindly check them out, because we are just going to give you all the worksheets regarding the topics that are being done up over here in each week. Clear? So kindly pay attention to that and respond properly. Clear? Till then, I would like to say thank you.